Hi there, it's Linda here. Thanks for joining me today as I play with my alcohol inks and Yupo paper. So I've cut some pieces of the Yupo paper down so that they'll fit across my card fronts, and I'm just going to have a play. I'm going to use the colours I've got, which I haven't played with in a long time, and as you can see the lids are all stuck tight, but I'm using, I think I've only got 6 colours and I'm pretty much using them all on each piece today. So first of all, just laying down each colour in a line here, as you'll see, and wanting this one to be a fairly good mix of the colours. The thing with alcohol inks for me is you never really know what you're going to get. It's not an exact science, that's for sure. It is fun and it's hard to control exactly what you'll end up with. So for me today I'm blending the colours with a straw, and sometimes you get some beautiful combinations and other times you get a bit of a mess. Let's be honest. So I just keep going back in, adding colours where I want them. As you can see, I've added yellow over the top there, and then that becomes like the predominant colour in that area. So that seems to be what happens with the last colour that you add. It takes over the other colours underneath. I just use a tissue to mop up some of those dark browner shades that are developing, and then I just work my way down this piece, adding more and more alcohol ink, and then I set it aside to dry. So I'm doing that today with about 5 different pieces, and I do use the blending solution at times, as you can see here now. It tends to lighten up the colours, and of course, being blending solution, that's what it's doing. It's blending the colours together more, and I just try to mix my colours, keep adding, keep wiping until I'm happy with the end result. And that takes time too, because the alcohol ink will blend and combine and mix over the next few minutes after you've added it. But it does dry fairly quickly. You don't have to wait very long for your pieces to be dry. So now I'm just combining the 6 colours that I have, and you will have seen that I've listed their names. They're all Ranger alcohol inks. And I do apologise for my lovely head in the way, and a nice look at my straw coloured hair today. Just continuing on adding the inks, trying to fill in those little white gaps that I always seem to get, and adding wherever I seem to want a little bit more of colour. And I'll work my way through, letting this one sit for a little bit, getting an idea if I'm happy with that. A few darker browner spots there that I'm just going to mop up with my tissue before I pop this one aside to dry. Then it's on to piece number 2, and I've got these little blending foams. I've got one for each of my colours. So this is going to be a fairly clean alcohol ink card, this one. I'm just going to swipe on the colours with the different foams, a nice clean one for each colour. And that's fairly simple. Sometimes you get quite a nice blend, other times the colours don't really do a lot. But just, as I said in the beginning, just playing today, seeing what I end up with, just having a nice little bit of creative play. And then I'll be turning the alcohol inked pieces into 5 cards. And I do have enough left over for another 5 cards down the track too, so that's always a bonus, in my opinion. So I do love this pool colour. It might be my favourite colour of all the inks I've got, I think. Just love anything in those blue, turquoise, pooly colour family. So, swiping the inks on, wishing that purple was a little bit brighter there, but moving back to the pink and then continuing in the same order, swiping on the colour, and as you can see, it's not a bad little blend in some places, and it does give you an interesting little panel that you can work with. I really do need another green. This is citrus, this green, and I just wish it was a little bit bolder. So anyway, that's all I've got to play with at the moment, so that's what I'm using. Alright, back to my first piece, adding a bit more of the pearl colour there because, you know, I do love it. And then putting that one aside to dry again. Cleaning off my craft mat in between with a baby wipe and sometimes with a tissue. And then I figured, oh, I've got these pieces with the ink on it, I'm going to do some swirly whirlies, just make a bit of a background pattern on this one, which I will then use to build up other colours, other layers of the same colours over the top. So just swirling my little foam pieces over the top, and then adding some of the gold Mixative. Needed quite a good shake. It's all really quite settled into the bottom there. So then swirling that into some of those white spaces. And then I'll come back in and fill up a few of the gaps. Right, so now that I've created that background piece, I'm going to drip on some of those same colours that you've just seen me use. So the gold Mixative first, and I'm going to blow those drops with my straw. So I love that look that you get where it all sort of spreads out in a spidery pattern. So that's the idea for this piece. And of course you still see that swirly layer underneath, but you've got those spidery dollops over the top. So adding the yellow now, which is the sunshine colour, and again blowing it with the straw and spreading those dollops across the piece. And I just continue adding those colours now onto the citrus until I'm happy with the way this one looks. And here we are on to piece number 4, and again working in rainbow order here. I'm adding my colours across the little piece of Yupo paper. It's just a little bit wider than my card front, but certainly not as big as the card front. It's not going to cover the whole card front. I just want a strip of each of these for my clean and simple cards today. So I'm working in rainbow order through my colours. I only have, what is it, 5? Do I only have 5 colours? And the gold, which makes 6. There you go. Need to get some more, don't I? So these ones are just going to blend and mix together as I add the blending solution over the top. Right, just to lighten things up and get those areas blending where each colour meets. And I don't want to overwork it. I don't want to blow too much and completely change the way this one looks. So trying to be pretty gentle with the blowing, and then come back when it's had a little bit of time to dry and just fill in a couple of the little gaps. Adding a bit more yellow down there because it's sort of got lost in that section. A bit more blending solution where I see it's getting a bit dark, and trying to lighten it up in those parts there. And now this is back to the first piece, the very first piece that I did. I just wanted to, it has actually dried, and I'm just coming back in with the blending solution and dropping little bits over the top just to give that different textured look. And now you can see the pieces that I've just been working on. The rainbow piece is the last one that you've seen me working on here. And I'm trying to get little tiny drops, but it's very hard coming from the blending solution bottle, so you do see me do something on my next piece to sort of try and get around that issue. Here are the pieces that I've been working on so far, so I'm quite happy with the way those have turned out. And now I'm going to put some of the alcohol blending solution into this little dish, and I've got quite a fine paintbrush there that I'll be using to flick on that blending solution, and I'm hoping that in that way I can get a finer sort of dollop of the solution. So I'm using a paintbrush today to cover or to blend those colours across the little strip of Yupo, just wiping that off on a tissue each time, so it's going in water first of all, which you can not see because it's just off camera. I'll move it on a bit for you. And little bug there getting in my way, so I'm chasing him around. And adding the citrus now, which is the green that I have, wiping my brush off on a tissue and try not to overwork it, just lightly swiping down with the paintbrush so that the colour covers that whole piece and mixes a bit with the colour beside it. Getting my 5 colours across the front there. And wishing that the purple was a bit more intense too. I remember thinking, oh, I need that to be bolder. So I came back in with a bit more, trying to dilute the water so it's not going to wash it out too much. And now I can flick on my blending solution, trying to get littler drops or droplets of that for the look on this one. And this was my favourite in the end. I did love the way this turned out, being a rainbow fan as I am. It was just so pretty, and the blending solution just gives it such a gorgeous effect. So dolloping that on just like you would if you were splattering ink onto your card, but in this case it's the blending solution that you're splattering. Give it a bit of time to blend out, and then you'll know where you want to add a little bit more. And here are my 5 pieces, all finished and dried and ready to be cut down and added to my cards. And I do make 5 cards today with these pieces. I go through my stash of foiled cardstock and glitter cardstock, and then I grab out all my word dies, and that's how I create my clean and simple cards today. Nice piece of the alcohol ink piece along the bottom, add the die cut word from foil or glitter, and then a little tiny strip of the alcohol piece at the top, and my cards are finished.